Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate. Going to replace Tom Cotton in November. I'm not going to be doing my weekly live stream Q&A, unfortunately. Today, we're going to do something a lot more important. I'm out here at the Arkansas State Capitol, where we have currently, there are quite a few people out here expressing their Second Amendment and First Amendment rights. It's their Constitution rights here. Unfortunately, I don't see any masks being worn, which is against the state law. So there could be a lot of fines handed out today if the state police were really going to do their job. But there are quite a few people here. Now, these are not the BLM protesters. These are all just regular people that decided to come out and protect this mass-produced statue. But it should be a peaceful protest. I don't think there's going to be anything violent going on. Hopefully there's no agitators in the crowd. There are quite a few people. It looks like they have surrounded the Confederate monument here. I know something was published in the media recently stating that, oh, I can hear, sounds like there's police drones up above us hiding in this tree here. Oh, you dropped your firearm, sir.
Oh, they are.
He just dropped his gun. It's a good thing the right people are expressing their constitutional rights and not the wrong ones. So feel free to get this all shared. Yeah, hopefully they protect them because the masks sure aren't, that's for sure. But there are quite a few people. I see a lot of bike clubs out here. Some masks, maybe about 50%. But yeah, I'd say there's probably maybe about 100, maybe 125 people. This is the item of controversy up here.
That off of his page.
I'm sure he did.
We have how are you doing? Good.
I've seen a little segment on it.
We have state police over here. State troopers parked all throughout here. When I had parked and walked in down these side roads, they have officers parked at the sides as well, all the way down. Oh, how are y'all doing? Good deal. I'm well, thank you. I'm Dan Whitfield. I'm running against Tom Cotton for United States Senate. Yes, sir. But I appreciate y'all coming out and expressing your constitutional rights. It's wonderful.
What's your name again?
Dan Whitfield, sir.
You're running.
Yes, sir. I'm an independent, sir. I'm with the people. Oh, they'll be here soon enough. Recorded, sir. Thank you. So it seems like there are a couple aggravated and angry people over there carrying firearms. But let's see. I hear the drone. I think there's one right up. Oh, there it is in that tree. Technology, it's amazing. But looks like we have media over down here on the road. Then there's some more media up behind this tree over here. But it's a pretty good turnout. Lots of people. Yeah, I couldn't believe he dropped it either. But yeah.
Hey Dan, you said that you're
Hey.
gonna be here soon.
Who, sir?
The people you with, the BLM, you know, the protesters. I've been here since 1. Where are they at?
Aren't these the protesters
No,
here?
these aren't the protesters.
No,
These are the
I know.
protesters. Come on, dude, pull your head out of your eye.
All right, keep those shares coming. Let's get thousands of people watching this. But not too bad so far. There's a little bit of animosity. Nothing too crazy. Well, only one flag. I thought there were. Oh, okay. So there's 3, 4. Oh. Yeah, he's not happy over there. But so that's a brief look over here. Oh, don't worry, they ain't gonna bother me. There's police everywhere and I'm wearing a suit. But it looks like there's a couple Capitol Police in the back. But there's not a lot of actual law enforcement between the actual protest that's going on and the Capitol building. They're all more focused over here. But, you know, this is their constitutional right to show here and protest peacefully, carry their firearms, just as it is the other people's right to come here and protest peacefully and show their disdain. Oh, there's a good shot of the drone. I can't zoom in, can I? Oh. It's the drone up there. Oh, it's taking pictures. I see flashes. So it's taking all sorts of pictures. Beautiful animal, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Uh-huh. Seems like some of the protesters might be coming over on the other side. Got a militia squad walking around over here. But as you can see, there are 4 state troopers over down that way. Oh.
Told you, you're going to end up somewhere down there on Main Street.
Yeah. That is a statue. Yeah. Yeah, Kevin, I was thinking the same thing. Oh, my wife is trying to call me. Hopefully that doesn't interrupt my live stream too much. If you can hear me, hun, just text me. Looks like they're going to be getting ready. Okay, sorry if you lost me for a second. My wife called. She's a little concerned that everybody's so heavily armed over here. But pretty peaceful so far. I don't see any kind of like agitation, except the group of people in the front over there. But fortunately, it cooled down a little bit, so it's not as hot as it was earlier. That's really nice. But my name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate. Take these off a minute. Whew, it's kind of bright and getting a little warm out here. Oh, yeah. Well, I think there was an article put out by an extremist blogger stating that the BLM protesters were supposed to come and tear the statue down, which I really don't see how that's possible. I mean, that would take a lot of work to do, but I was already with the BLM protesters, and they aren't looking to tear the statue down or agitate or anything like that. They're just looking to peacefully protest and make their voices heard. Oh, I know. No, don't worry about it. They aren't going to mess with me. I'm wearing a suit. And there are police officers everywhere. They may get angry, but it's like a dog with no teeth. But beautiful evening for this, though. Beautiful evening. Oh. Yeah. I agree, Alan. Yes, sir. I'd say there's like between 100 to 150 people, maybe like 125. So there are quite a few people out here. Oh, now my wife's texting me. I hope this doesn't. I know you're worried, honey, but it's okay. Don't worry. It's something that needs to be documented. I'm gonna come out for a little wider view over here. So technically, this whole road is closed off. So you should be able to stand in the road without any kind of controversy or jaywalking or anything like that. But this is a statue again. You have a ring of concerned citizens that believe the BLM protesters are going to come and tear down the monument. Unfortunately, that's not what this movement's about. It's not about going around tearing monuments down, even though it has been done in some cities. It's a very small fraction of what has happened at these protests. But I think I can probably win the award for best dressed. That's for sure. Oh, always, sir. I wear one every day.
Don't blame you.
Oh, there we go. Got a Trump flag. I hadn't seen any of those. Just a bunch of Trump hats so far, but no flags. There's a flag. More state police. I think this is Channel 4 over here. But it's pretty calm here right now. I think it's about 5 minutes to 6, and 6 o'clock is when the BLM protesters are going to be here.
So sometimes it's born and sometimes it's not.
Yes, Kevin. Well, the Little Rock 9 monument is actually going to be down further over that way, down there. And I am actually going to bring y'all over there in a little bit and talk about it, because it was brought to my attention that all of these statues, the statues over on this side of the Capitol, they're all maintained and cleaned and properly held, whereas the Little Rock 9 statue, they don't clean it. It's covered in bird feces. So we do need to figure out as a public how to get that taken care of, to make sure that they clean that historic monument up on a regular basis, rather than leaving it covered in feces while all of the other ones are clean. That's just a disgusting gesture by the Capitol groundskeepers. Let's see here. Yeah, that's our Capitol building here. These people are concerned Arkansas citizens that wanted to come out and express their First and Second Amendment rights to protect the statue and prevent BLM terrorists from tearing it down. But I already spoke with the protesters earlier. Their intention is not to come tear this thing down. So Yeah, it's going to stay peaceful. I'm pretty confident in that. There's a lot of law enforcement around. There may be some dummies over here. As you saw, there were some people shouting obscenities up there earlier. They're probably more likely to start anything than anyone else. Here's Channel 4 News getting ready to do a report. Here. How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Do you want me to step out?
I'm going to give you one of these real quick. My name's Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running against Tom Cotton for United States Senate.
Okay.
So if you ever have any questions or anything, my phone number's on there. Give me a call sometime. Do an interview with y'all.
I will, thank
He is not running unopposed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh wait, I'll give you one of mine too, just in case you do anything.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm covered in pockets. Got them everywhere. All right. But it's definitely cooler to stand up here in the shade, that's for sure. But it's pretty calm so far. Let's see. These are medics coming up over here. So these are some of the BLM medics. Let's see. They're moving up. A couple more state troopers here. As it seems the protester is about to show up. Now, to be perfectly clear, these citizens have every constitutional right to be here right now, carrying their firearms and saying whatever they want to say. We're Americans, and that's why so many of our forefathers have fought and died for our country. Now, at the same time, the BLM protesters also have just as much of a right to assemble here peacefully and have their Second Amendment right to bear arms. Those are their constitutional rights. As long as everyone stays peaceful and there's no agitators, it should be really good. But we'll see. I'll make sure I keep recording the whole time, see kind of who's instigating, who's yelling, and things like that. But I have already talked with the BLM protesters, and every single person there, they're not looking for trouble. They're not looking for agitation. They just want to come and peacefully protest. Oh, he's got a big old Gandalf staff. Look at that thing. Oh, look at the bottom of it. He put a knife in the bottom of it. I think that blade's longer than 4 inches, so technically, I think it's illegal for him to have that weapon. Interesting. But yeah, everyone's kind of keeping their distance from me. I don't think they know what to think. Just a dude in a suit. But everyone's kind of quiet right now, just talking amongst themselves, trying to get their bearings and see what's going to happen. But really expecting it to be mostly peaceful. It looks like the BLM protesters are kind of situating themselves across the street where it's safe as not to instigate any kind of violence or anything like that, which is a strategic move. I'll go over there and join them in a little bit once some more of them show up. It's just, well, I guess they're starting to get some shade over there. I'm in a suit. It's freaking hot. The dude in the suit. I know, I got my nice tie on too. I like my purple and blue tie. Evening. Well, how about yourself?
Perfect.
Good deal. Man. But yeah, so I've walked around the whole place, and everyone seemed kind of nonchalant. They're just hanging out. The only rally group I saw were the ones in the front there. But they were also the only ones who asked me who I was. So it's safe to say, I'm pretty sure not a single one of these people are probably going to vote for me. So I'm not worried about losing their votes. Pretty safe to say. Some more BLM coming towards the front over there. Let's see. I'm actually surprised though. I wasn't expecting this many people to be here. I think there's going to be like probably 5 times as many people over here than there are going to be protesters. Let's see. Oh, someone's got his kids over here, teaching his kids about constitutional laws real early and young. Thank you, sir. So Arkansas is an open carry state. We have constitutional carry Second Amendment laws here. Legally, you can actually even conceal carry without a permit. Now, you can get a permit, a concealed carry permit or an enhanced concealed carry permit. That way you can carry in more locations. But technically, you actually don't have to have one, and you can open carry in the state of Arkansas. I know a lot of Republicans are actually upset with Leslie Rutledge because our Attorney General had actually wrote an opinion stating that our constitutional carry rights do not cover open carry. So a lot of people were upset with her, but still our Arkansas Constitution states you can carry open in Arkansas, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Okay, now we have a few more state police over in the back here. They're kind of just filing in. One more media back here.
People making maneuvers.
Yeah. Man, what a beautiful Arkansas evening, though. You really can't ask for a better August 1st. Oh, I got a heads-up call. See, personally, I prefer to conceal carry, not open carry. I'd rather someone not know I have a firearm than someone knows where it is. I think that's the smarter way to go about it. But this is this statue here. I'll probably get a better look at it if I get a little bit closer in here. The object of controversy, which is actually this one, which is just an unknown Confederate soldier. Faithfulness. But some more BLM protesters come in. These gentlemen over here, they are legal observers. They're actually not with either of the group, the movement, or the citizens. They are just legal observers over there. And then I see quite a few medics over there as well. Oh, look. Now we have 2 drones up in the sky. Uh-huh. Oh, sorry, sir? Huh? Oh. So I never know when someone trying to talk to me. But there actually aren't as many masks as I originally thought. I thought there were more. Oh, another drone's coming in taking pictures. Or maybe it is just a blinking light. I have no idea. It looks like a flash. Who knows? Beautiful little German Shepherd. But everyone's really peaceful so far and just chilling, expressing their rights. Couldn't really ask for anything more. Oh, he's got a shotgun. 2 shotguns. Crowd control. Okay, here come some of the BLM protesters over here, followed by 3 state troopers. And then I see the media is starting to move over that way. Law enforcement's coming in. A few of the citizens are moving a little bit forward. Really nothing too bad, though.
Covering places in anticipation of needing to have their identities.
Yeah, should be good. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to move down this way a little bit. Let's see here. So, looks like law enforcement's moving down this way. And then, so we have 1, 2 news stations, 3 news stations. There's one over in the back over here. Got a couple commandos over there. A few independent journalists walking around live streaming. I'm over here. So there really aren't too many protesters. Like I said, they're probably outnumbered like, I don't even know. That's how many people are there. And these are the people that they're here to show arms against. Oh, man. Oh. Awesome. Yeah, 100%. No, I'm for y'all. I'm just going around recording.
I know. I see you.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it seems like everyone is they're like kind of quiet and peaceful over there.
They're only peaceful.
I don't see like
They're trying to intimidate.
they are definitely using some intimidation. Almost all of them are open carrying. Shotguns, assault rifles.
And you see what the police did when they walked up.
Yeah, as soon as y'all came up, they did come up over here.
Yeah, the cars followed them over.
Oh, okay. And then the cars, it looks like they blocked the end road off, and then we have 1 and 3 here. But yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure as long as everyone here stays peaceful, they'll stay peaceful. There was a little bit of rowdy guys up in the front over there towards the front of the statue, kind of yelling some obscenities about me when they saw who I was. But other than that, they are just citizens expressing their First and Second Amendment rights, and we're over here, citizens, expressing our First and Second Amendment rights, and we have the right to lawfully, peacefully assemble. And as long as everything stays peaceful, we're all following the law, and it should be a productive movement for them to see that we're not terrorists, we're not rioters, we're not thugs, we're not going to tear the statue down. There is a movement, and it needs to be heard. Police brutality cannot continue to go unanswered. And again, there's the gentleman with the Gandalf staff who has a 6-inch blade attached to the bottom of his staff. But yeah, So as you can see, you know, over the BLM group, they're just hanging out. They're not really planning anything, you know, they don't have any animosity. They're not planning an attack or anything like that. They're just expressing their First Amendment rights, which is what they should be doing as Americans. So that statue is a symbol of hatred.
You can't pull you out when they have that many people.
No worries.
She's by your side, okay? Yeah, keep me with you.
For sure. Everyone's just worried. I'm really not too worried, though. There's a law enforcement. People really aren't going to get out of pocket. The last thing anybody does is shoot someone in front of a cop. That's a life sentence, especially on federal property. But it is interesting. And then there's some there's some other people over on this side here as well. It looks like media, and then a few medics. But yeah, it's still quiet over on this side. It looks like there's a few more people closer in the circle around the monument, but pretty optimistic. I don't think there's going to be any big problems. There's some people who have orange on them now. I'm not sure what that means, but ooh, the cicadas are out, making their Arkansas music. So those are pretty much all of the protesters over there. Maybe about 30 people or so. And these are all of everybody else. Maybe about 100 yeah, I'd say about 125, maybe 150. If I can get my sunglasses in my pocket, I'm just gonna have to put them. Don't worry, honey. You don't have to keep calling me. But just going around. I mean, they're pretty calm. I don't really, I mean, there's like no racial slurs. There's no verbiage being thrown. Of course, they're still kind of far away. But it seems all right. I'd say my biggest concern would be a lack of masks, because that's probably the only law that they're breaking right now, since we do have a statewide mask mandate right now for public gatherings. So since they're not wearing a mask, technically they could all be fined between $100 to $500. Yeah. They like racists, obviously. But again, it does just seem to be the people in the front. So everybody else is pretty chill. Man. No, sir.
They changed their mind quick, didn't they?
I don't.
This is Arkansas.
It is Arkansas,
This is
sir.
Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
They did good changing their mind.
I honestly don't think.
They changed their mind. They're supposed to follow you down here. You took off walking and they stopped.
No.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, they were smart.
They're not following me, sir.
They won't.
No, I mean, this is great.
I mean, it's a peaceful protest. We're all
Yeah, no, this is
Just
expressing
no
our
disrespect.
First,
No
Second Amendment
disrespect.
rights. This is
no
American as it
disrespect.
gets.
Hey, they're welcome to walk down through here, but they ain't tearing down shit.
Absolutely.
No
I don't think that's
disrespect.
their intention.
Okay.
No, it's really good to see, honestly. It's good when we...
Hey, tell them welcome to Arkansas.
I did see an article online, but it wasn't written by one of the protest members. It was written by someone
Hey,
else.
this is peaceful.
Did you see?
Yeah, no, this is
we
great.
don't mean no harm.
Did you see the guy
But no
giving his big
disrespect.
speech? The guy giving his big speech on Facebook, telling all of Arkansas to come here and be here at 6 o'clock. And he's going to tear the statue down to see that?
I did not see that speech.
That's what
I'm
everybody else saw.
one of many country boys that showed up. They don't want all the country boys to show up. They don't take us all.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Hey, it's all about respect.
I think the
That's all
best
it is.
part is having people able to express their
It's
First and
peaceful.
Second Amendment rights on
It's
both
peaceful.
sides.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
peaceful.
it's
We mean no harm.
It's as
They
good
ain't
as it
tearing
gets.
Down shit.
uh,
They ain't tearing down nothing.
I agree. I would never condone that.
But they're welcome to come on down through here. But they just ain't gonna tear nothing down.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ain't about race or color.
Why do you want to erase history?
If you take away history, how you gonna keep from not
It's
repeating
hard
it?
though, just for that particular argument, when you look at Germany, there are no Nazi statues.
But how are you gonna take away history and not repeat it?
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
How you gonna
It was
repeat
fascist.
history if you take it down?
Well,
Some of their ancestors fought in this war.
yeah, well, that would be fascism because communism is where all of the people, all the goods are collected and distributed equally, would be what communism is. In Berlin.
Took the wall down, Berlin, that changed. But until then, one half of Germany was communist.
Could you correlate the Berlin Wall with Confederate statues?
No,
Not at
but
all
you're
different?
taking away history. Why would they discriminate the 12th Infantry? This has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. This has everything to do with respect. So why would you take down and why would you do that when it was all blacks?
Uh-huh.
This has nothing to do with Black
Where was that
Lives
at?
Matter.
Where was that at?
It's Confederacy.
No, but
12th
no.
Infantry.
Yeah.
What does it matter? It's a whole black 12th Infantry that was solid black, and there's Abraham Lincoln. They discriminated there. His monument. He's the one that freed slavery. This has nothing to
Absolutely.
do with blacks. This has.
He did the
nothing-
Emancipation
It has nothing to
Proclamation.
do with blacks, though.
Yeah.
Just like we're here now.
Yes, sir.
This has nothing to do with blacks. This has to do with respect and history.
Yeah.
Don't take our respect or history away. I mean, do what you want to do and fight for your cause, but like John said, do it on a good trouble, not a bad trouble.
Absolutely.
They're
There's a
doing it
legal
on bad
process.
trouble. Look at Chicago.
But-
Look at Minneapolis. That's what do you give for all the rioting and thievery and killing? And they're killing black people. This ain't Black Lives Matter. This ain't about Black Lives Matter. All lives matter.
You're
when
on the
these
Democratic
people
Party,
get
is
that,
that
all
right?
black.
No,
all
sir.
white.
I do not party affiliate. I believe parties are political
life-
corporations.
all
Yes,
life
sir.
matters.
What I believe. I mean, I vote Republican, but Dems are not Democrat. My old party is going to turn into something that I don't recognize. And Republicans, some of these guys, they don't help the president. They don't help any agenda if they even have one.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we're upset. In our meetings, we have Republican representatives and senators. First thing I tell them, we have a large group. If you want our support, you've got to get tougher than this.
Bottom
This
line
shouldn't
is all
happen.
lives
If you're going to
matter.
do this, you do this right. And we shouldn't be a country.
Well,
where we
there's a
have to
whole
say
legal
lot.
process for this that should be
Well, that's
followed.
right.
And
It's
I
also-
really don't think they're going to come try to tear down a statue
No,
because
they won't hear it.
where that did
Well, you
happen,
don't threaten
that was
to do
completely.
You don't threaten
Yeah.
to do that. That's like me coming to threaten to burn down your house.
Yeah.
That's a threat.
I
And
don't
this right
care.
here, yeah. We
I
don't
don't
go
care
to, you know.
about your religion or their religion or anybody's religion. I love you all. And as long as we live in peace, I'm good with that.
Uh-huh.
All lives matter. It ain't Black Lives Matter, white lives matter.
We shouldn't have to say
Hispanic
lives matter. We
It's
shouldn't even have to say
lives
all lives matter. We all know
We
lives
live
matter.
in peace. And that's what we want. Live in
Let me
peace.
ask you a question. Do you believe in the Bible?
Yes, sir.
John 3:16, what did it say? God so loved the world. He didn't discriminate. He didn't say what color, race, creed, or anything. The world. Everybody should care for each other. And you know, if you want to come and you want to practice your religion, go for it.
That's
But
your
don't
your
tell us
prerogative.
we can't practice it.
Right.
Let me ask you a question, Dan.
How-
You don't party affiliate. What ticket are you running on? Are you running Republican, Independent, or
I'm an independent.
Independent? Good.
Left the country.
Okay, you have your own rights. Just like we have our own rights, they have their own rights.
Yeah.
But don't push their rights on us. You don't push your right on us.
Well, we all have the
I
same
don't push your
rights.
rights
We all
on
have
me.
the same rights.
We just
We
have
don't
to
have
make
the same
sure we
rights.
all
All
have
lives
the
matter.
same
It
rights.
all
We don't-
comes
we
down
don't
to
have
all
the
lives
right.
matter.
The thing about it is the Confederate statutes has been considered federal military statutes. And it's a felony to even touch that thing. And that goes through the
Desecrate it.
state
It's
Anyway,
discriminating.
or another group.
It's discriminating
So
against all of
they
them.
need to back off, leave it alone, have respect for it. because they did fight for their country, the CSA.
And so did some of their ancestors.
You know,
And what they don't
and
understand,
there's not a man.
3.8% of the
woman,
population
child
owned slaves at the peak.
that did not
1%
have
of that
a
was
relative
northern
that died
states.
in the war.
That's a fact. And I've seen like CNN will say 40%, but it's like my great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War along with a lot of his brothers and a lot of my relatives on both sides. And none of them had slaves. And they teach educational systems the Civil War is fought over slavery, which that was way down on the totem pole.
We done progressed this. and
It's an
they're
education
taking it
act.
back.
But this
We're not
is
progressing.
2020. Everybody's free. The civil rights movement's done been fought in the 60s. It's done over with. What they're doing right here with Black Lives Matter is just tearing down what all the black people in the 60s, that their group fought for and won the civil
Martin
rights.
Luther
It's done
King-
been
well,
fought.
Martin Luther King
This is
fought
what
for
this is so silly and it's so
It's
ignorant.
about progression.
Martin
Don't
Luther-
take
And we quote Martin Luther King.
law of race history. Not to repeat it again. After we're all dead and gone, how are our grandkids great the same?
Well, when it comes to
history
Confederate
we done went through?
statute,
You asked a question.
our people in the South fought and died for that. So
Confederate flag and,
Exactly.
and the Berlin Wall.
Oh no, the monument's not the flag, sir.
Oh, well, a monument, okay.
but see, it's an age.
Here's the thing that people don't seem to understand. Those monuments were created in the 20s, the 30s, and on right in that time. And they were created by the loved ones, the family fought to defend the South. They fought to defend their families, their friends, their farms. That's the reason they fought. They fought because they were invaded. They were invaded by the North. Now, you know, historians could straighten all of this out if they would be truthful in history, but they're not. And I say they're not. Some are, some aren't. There's a lot of discrepancy. But the thing about it, you know, people have the idea, and the picture tries to be painted, that Abraham Lincoln was a great abolitionist, and he came into office, and the first thing he wanted to do is go free the slave. And that's crock. You know as well as I do. Abraham Lincoln was an abolitionist. There's no question about that. The abolition movement was strong in the North and in the South. The Underground Railroad was strong in the North and in the South. The issue, there were three big issues going on. You know, you had taxation, you had slavery, and you had the secession question. Here's the thing about it that people don't seem to understand, and historians just don't want to tell for some reason or another, is the fact that the South had every right to secede. It was not against the law to secede. It was not unconstitutional to secede, and so they seceded. When they seceded, they formulated a new government, which made them a free, sovereign nation. So the argument actually is not salvation of the Union. The Union was already broken in two. The Union had already been left by the South, and the South had created their own nation. And then people jump on the Fort Sumter thing, and they say, well, yeah, but you know, the Fort Sumter thing's what started it all.
And then here in Arkansas, originally when the 7 states seceded, we actually voted against it and voted to stay in the Union until Abraham Lincoln tried to draft Arkansans into the Army, and then that's when they actually ended up seceding.
The Fort Sumter thing is a huge lie anyway, because Fort Sumter, South Carolina was General Beauregard was over the southern fort, and Lincoln had agreed, and so he didn't do it. They set another date. He didn't do it. Beauregard told him that he had to such and such to get the federal troops out. The North agreed to do it. Seward was spoken for the North, and he said that they would remove.
Sorry, all my viewers want to kind of see real quick. I apologize. They're just kind of curious what's going on both sides over here.
Bottom line, all lives matter, and it's we the people, not we the blacks, we the whites, we the Hispanics, it's we the people. That's what the United States stands for.
But
so it's we the people, so it ain't
Black
lives matter.
Let me finish my story.
Yes,
here.
sir.
The Sumter incident is what they actually used to justify the invasion. The Sumter incident, Lincoln agreed to remove the troops. He didn't do it. That night he reinforced the fort.
And Beauregard gave him another opportunity, didn't surrender. He bombarded the fort, didn't kill one soul, not one person was killed. Some buildings were tore up. The North had a formation, did a 21-gun salute, killed 2 of their own people. And so Beauregard totally couldn't finish the salute, get on the ships and leave. That's what happened. And Lincoln used that to justify invading the South. So it's a history that was passed down.
We have to make sure that we're teaching our children the real, accurate history, no matter how bad it makes us look. We need to not whitewash anything. Otherwise, there's no way we can expect our children not to make the same mistakes that have already been made.
What the North did, they wrote the history books, and they wrote it from their perspective, which that's what all victorious countries always do.
Well, and I'm actually I went to school in California, and I can say being a student in California and then being a student in Arkansas, they don't really teach you about the Civil War and what really happened in the South when you're not in the South. I learned more about Civil War from the history classes I've taken here in college than in all of my years growing up, just because they don't teach it. They taught us about the Donner Party and things like that, the California Gold Rush, things that aren't as historically, I would say, important as everything that had happened here. So we do need to make sure, not only here, but we're teaching children all across the entire nation about what happened so that it doesn't happen again.
Just don't embrace the history is what the deal is. If you're going to teach them the truth. Don't try to cover it up, because what happened happened.
I think for something like this, there is a legal way to go about moving a statue if it does need to be and will be moved.
Right.
I mean, most of these statues...
History don't need to be removed. Because how are you going to teach your children if you're teaching them false?
I would say a book, but honestly, nowadays it's electronics.
Well, it's facts, really. You know what I mean? So what are you going to say? Okay, this happened up till this date, but oh, by the way, they removed these monuments and stuff. You're cheating your kids out of that.
Just a theoretical question. If that statue had never been here, would you know what the Confederacy was?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I sure would. Because my heritage. I can show you
100%.
Absolutely, I would know. Because my heritage.
When you learn about the monuments,
just like you would from where you come from.
Better.
Your heritage. You know what happened. You know about your grandparents.
When you learn
you know
about
your grandparents.
And the monuments and headstones and all those things.
That's how I learned was these monuments.
Then you see the appreciation that the people in the South had for their soul.
There was just
that needs to be understood. That's the reason these things were put up. They appreciated.
There was more white people died for black people's rights than it was white people died for white people's rights. White people in Egypt they was more slaves than black people ever were. So it ain't about Black Lives Matter. I mean, we all been slaves in our history. Are we compensated for what our past brought us? No. So why should they be? No. What you got to do is learn from your history and move on. Simple as that. But you don't erase your history and try to move on.
Or
we erased
the same mistake.
You don't do that. You go back and repeat the same thing.
The compensation question is food.
Take over the government.
History. Take away history. That's first step.
Therefore, they have nothing else to believe in. Therefore, they have nothing to talk. They can control it. Go back to
The reparation question is foolishness because there was slavery in the United States under the United States government for 88 years. That's all. 88 years. The United States government didn't come into existence until 1776. Actually, we didn't win our independence until 1783. And slavery ended in 1875. 1865, I'll say it right there. So the idea of reparations, is Oklahoma supposed to pay reparations? Oklahoma wasn't in the United States. Is Texas supposed to pay the same thing that New York should in reparations? Certainly not. Texas only became a state in 1835. So California, 1840, whatever. So how in the world are you going to say the United States government owes reparations? That doesn't even make any sense. The United States, the land of the United States is owned by France, England, and Spain. And so, you know, people say, well, slavery existed here for 200 years or 400. No, it didn't. It existed under our government for 88 years.
Technically, we still had slaves even up until the 80s, technically. But slavery was abolished.
Well, and technically...
And we even still had segregated schools even today.
The North still had slaves, too, for quite some time.
They were actually the last states to get rid of their slaves.
New Jersey had slaves until
But I think
1865.
more what the BLM movement is it's trying to end the systemic problem that we've been facing. And we see that really, especially with education. For example, a lot of predominantly minority schools are way underfunded. But so I think one of the first steps towards what reparations would be making sure that we have equally funded schools for all children in Arkansas, no matter where they live, no matter.
That we should have equality in education. We should have.
And that's what the whole movement. Some instigators, just like there are some.
Instigators, the great majority of our instigators.
I mean, honestly, I've met so far has not been an instigator, but there are instigators that are going around. Of course, I would never say there aren't.
They're burning their cities down.
Yeah, and those people that are burning down buildings are in a different category.
They're terrorists, and the great majority of them are doing that.
So I'm going to go ask them some. Chatting with you. So, I didn't want to
Fuck you! Protest, let them protest.
Let's see here. So, it's about here.
Fuck you!
And then.
Watch the lane. Watch the lane.
Here's my salute to you. Come get it here.
Well, hold on. Let's see. And then we have our law enforcement here.
I'm in the desert.
Oh,
Come get it!
beautiful
You just gonna
puppy.
talk shit, or you gonna do something?
Oh. Let's see. Oh. Crazy eyes. Oh. Let's see here. And then there's a couple places here. So far, they are allowed both sides to say whatever they want. It's their freedom of speech. Let's see. Let's see. And then, oh, is that a grenade launcher? Looks like a grenade launcher. I don't even know.
There are a whole lot of people here.
Oh.
You ever seen the movie Cool Hand Luke?
Oh, that dude fell over when he was walking backwards. Let's see, some people over here.
To communicate. I tell you what. Hey, don't play it, dude. What we have here.
Let him have it, bro. Let him have it.
Just
let him have it.
To communicate. I would think that black people been in this country
Hi.
for 500 years.
Hey, it's going.
I heard you getting talked to.
Saying the same
Just a little bit.
damn thing. For 500 years.
I'm gonna put my hand up too.
Saying the same thing. Justice, freedom,
He's
liberty,
got a weapon on the bottom.
equality.
Justice,
In
liberty,
our
equality.
prayers, in our cries, have fallen on deaf ears. So that my name Kip Brown, as you know.
And I'm the guy that's been renting space, and all y'all have for free.
Hold the line. Hold the line. Hold the line.
Hands up.
I don't know what this monument means to them. I don't know what that monument means to them. But I don't think that it
Some yelling going back and forth. But, I mean, there's police, looks like they're stationed in the middle now. He's saying to come get some and grabbing his tiny little penis.
I want the whole world to call them out. I ain't none of these people, motherfucker.
Okay. So it seems like there's just a couple agitators on both sides. A couple people. Most people are silent, just kind of looking on. Black Lives Matter. Oh. So we've got, looks like USA over on this side and Black Lives Matter on this side. Hey Val, you're probably good. They're probably going to be a lot less hostile towards me than they would be you, just so you know. You can hang out. I'm good. I appreciate it, but they won't be hostile towards me. Okay? You're better off though. Thank you. But it looks like 2, 3, so I'd say about half law enforcement has masks on, about half don't. Let's see, we've got a drone up here, a drone up here. And then, but it looks like there's a few troopers. I think these are Capitol Police here. But, I mean, for the most part, there's a huge distance between the two groups. I'd say at least 70, maybe 100 yards. So, there's a few agitators just kind of yelling on both sides. But other than that, I don't think they're really going to cross this line. Just so you know, sir, officer, that staff has a blade on the bottom of it, taped to the bottom in the grass. Just so you know. Yes, sir. But so it looks like we have media in the middle here, and then she's with the media, and then there's 6, 7, 8, 9 officers in the road, and then 4 officers on the grass over in this area, with about 3, 4, 5 more officers over by the Capitol. But I don't really see anything else kind of behind either group. I don't see any officers. These cars are now empty over here, and there's 4 squad cars. But there are squad cars behind the protesters, and then to the side of them as well. I think next time they're probably going to bring a loudspeaker so they don't have to scream so much. They're trying to compete with the loudspeaker. But it just seems, everybody's frustrated. We have people frustrated on one side, and then we have people frustrated on the other side. And a lot of those frustrations are actually from a post online that said the BLM protesters were going to come and rip down the statue, when that was never the intention at all. I had actually, I had spoken with the protesters before it started. None of them had any want or desire to tear down the statue. That wasn't their plan. They just wanted to come out here and protest. But it seems like there's just kind of a line. Everyone's just kind of talking. Like I said, there's like a few agitators on both sides just yelling back and forth. But everyone's fine. They're just expressing their constitutional rights right now. I'm sorry, sir?
They're talking about killing him. Ain't nobody talking about killing him.
No, I don't. I am unaware of any of that, sir.
One-on-one.
But for the most part, it's as peaceful as it can be. There's some frustrations on both sides, and there's some shouting, but that's about it. There's still a few people. Peace, justice, and equality. I think it's peace, justice, and equality is what their dialogue is.
Okay,
I can't.
I asked and they wouldn't speak with me.
I can't hear them from this far. My hearing's going out.
I was that far though.
Oh my gosh, I love the blue. Man, I like it. Ready to surprise you, sir. My name's Dan Whitfield, sir, and I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas.
Independent?
Yes, sir.
And you're running against who?
Tom Cotton, sir.
Tom Cotton.
Yes, sir. I don't work for a party. I work for the people. I don't take special interest money, corporate money. Don't take money from PACs, political, anything.
You're live on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, our campaign's 100% grassroots. 80% of all of our $50,000 in donations have come in donations of less than $200. 100% of our contributions are individual contributions. ReplaceTomCotton.com. You can see my whole platform, and if you like what you donate. Thank you, sir. But there's actually no law enforcement over in the back. But yeah, so far, it's just people expressing their constitutional rights, There's really no agitation going on. There's some calls of violence on both sides in the front, but it's just words and they're pretty far apart. So everything's pretty peaceful for the most part. Just people expressing their frustrations on both sides. And then this is the object of controversy, is this lower unknown Confederate statue. And our lovely Arkansan music, our cicadas up there. Unfortunately, we don't have any cicadas up in the north where I live right now, but they are down here further south. But this is from this side. So again, it's pretty peaceful. People expressing their First Amendment rights right now. Kind of shouting back and forth. But, that's really about it. Hopefully it'll stay peaceful. I don't really foresee it getting violent in any way. Oh, there we go. That's who I was looking for. I knew they had to be here somewhere. So, here's our state troops over here. Drones flying around up above. So if you can see, There's this group over here. And then there's a pretty wide gap between the BLM protesters and the citizens expressing their distaste for the BLM movement. But these right here are our boys in blue. They are actually really far away from what's going on right now. They're pretty far away. They're just kind of chilling in case something happens, which I'm really not anticipating anything crazy to happen tonight. Where? How are you doing? I'm well, thank you. My name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running against Tom Cotton for Senate. They say he's running unopposed, but he's really not. Okay. If you want the story, just give me a call or a text sometime. Okay. Thank you. It's a good opportunity to reach some of the media that won't answer emails. But it's crazy though. It's like a magical suit. I can walk back and forth between the citizens and the BLM movement, and nobody really says anything to me. They just kind of let me be. And so, from the front line here, we've got, these are legal observers. They are watching everything and documenting. We have, I think that's Channel 4 News. Then we have some protesters in the front here. A beautiful little German Shepherd. And then we have our protesters here. And behind our protesters, let's see, we got resist hate, BLM, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, 100%.
Y'all notice that? These folks have had about 15 years.
And then, so this road is closed off here. And then we have 2 officers in the road. And then there's 3 cars behind them, and the road's closed off in the back as well. Let's see. We do have a couple people behind the protesters with Trump hats on, a bicycle, a flag, and then another citizen protester up here closer. In case you don't know what our beautiful Capitol looks like. Wow, when the sun's going down, it is just majestic. So there's a couple people chilling on the steps, just kind of seeing what's going on. A few more officers up here in the middle. So from this angle here, we have kind of the citizens over on this side here. Oh, now they're holding the Trump 2020 sign with 2 flags. And then we have the BLM protesters on this side here. Let's see. No, sir. I'm a candidate for United States Senate. I'm running against Tom Cotton. Thank you, sir. I'll need it, and then I'm going to surprise everyone when we beat him. Pretty much every male in my family served up until me. I decided to go to work and start a family and went to school. I wish I could have served, but just wasn't for me. Maybe Space Force one day.
There you go. That's probably why you agree with him.
No, sir. I mean, all 3 of my brothers served in the Army. I have a lot of vets in my family. Huh?
So you didn't your brother serve?
No, my 3 brothers served. Well, my 2 brothers and my brother-in-law.
You think like you?
Yes, sir. Actually, we all think kind of our own. It's one of the benefits of being American. Thank you. Have a good evening, sir. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these people over here are going to buy a loudspeaker for next time. They're going to feel like they were sucking on a bunch of things tomorrow morning. Lifesavers. They're going to feel like they were sucking on a bunch of lifesavers tomorrow morning. But I've been going back and forth, kind of just so we can hear what everybody's talking about. There were a few heated incidents up near, like in this area, and then there were a few incidents over in this area. But those were just verbal altercations, and then they each had their own people pull them away. So, you know, I mean, so far it's been peaceful, you know. So far we've just had both sides expressing their First and Second Amendment rights, which is the wonderful thing about our country. Thank y'all for coming out here tonight. Probably not how you wanted to spend your Saturday evening. Oh, man. But yeah, everything's, I mean, fairly peaceful for the most part. You know, there's just a few people that are shouting back and forth. But other than the shouting back and forth, there ain't really nothing going on. Ooh, it's getting hot. Oh, to unbutton my jacket. But so it looks like they added an extra police car back here, and then they added a police car back behind the citizens that wasn't here earlier. But for the most part, I mean, everyone's just kind of standing around, talking a little bit amongst themselves. I know they weren't like, they were all expecting violence. I don't think they were expecting it to be peaceful. So they're heavily armed. But, you know, so far it's been peaceful on both sides. Just people expressing their concerns and their frustration, which, of course, there are a lot of reasons to have frustration. I mean, we have black people being killed in the streets, not only by police officers, but by citizens as well. So it's a very important movement. And, you know, from talking to the citizens over here, what it sounded like is it sounds like they're getting their information for what BLM is from online. They're reading memes. They're watching, you know, YouTube videos by people. And they don't actually understand what BLM is. They think, you know, they're just a bunch of terrorists trying to erase history. That they don't understand the systemic racism that has been plaguing our society for hundreds of years. And that's what this is about. It's about weeding out that systemic racism and bringing equality and justice not to just all lives, but to black lives particularly, because all lives can't matter until black lives do too. But everyone's being really peaceful for the most part. I'd say 90%, 95% of the citizens here aren't even like shouting or anything. Everyone's just kind of hanging out, chatting. And then I don't really hear much coming from the protesters. There's one gentleman with a loudspeaker. I can't really make out what he's saying, but I don't hear many other people right now. But, I mean, this is what America's about, being able to express your First and Second Amendment rights in a peaceful way. Couldn't ask for anything more, really. So they did add 2 new officers back here behind the citizens. Oh, and then 2 additional officers in the back. But those are all the officers I see over here. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's all over on this side. And again, this is the object of controversy right here, the unknown Confederate soldier. This is a statue that was most likely built in the 1920s and put here as a symbol of oppression. So really quickly, I'm going to walk over here fast because while I have so many of you, something was brought to my attention earlier, which I'd like to investigate with y'all. So these statues over here, this is the Little Rock Nine. Back when schools were being desegregated, the Arkansas governor said, no, we are not desegregating our schools. And because of that, Eisenhower actually had to send in the 101st Airborne to enforce federal law upon the state. That led to the Little Rock Nine. So these are the statues in commiseration of the Little Rock Nine. Now, what someone had told me earlier was that these statues have bird poop on them. That these statues are dirty when all of the other statues on the facility are regularly cleaned and maintained. So these statues have been neglected to be cleaned. So I just want to take a look and see, wow. Yeah, so, you can see, all right here. Oh yeah, 1 second, sir. So yeah, as you can see, look at these statues. So these are the statues that apparently don't matter as much as the Confederate statues. I'll switch my camera around so I'm not showing you. How are you doing, sir?
Not bad.
Dan Whitfield. Nice to meet you. Are you from out here in Arkansas? Or?
Yeah. Down in the Trashwood area.
Okay. So not too far away. No. A little hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah. What do you honestly think of this? Honestly, I know you're a candidate, so take that political bullshit.
I think that we have constitutional rights as American citizens. And right now, we have protesters that are expressing their First and Second Amendment rights, peacefully assembling, and we have and we have Arkansan citizens that are over here peacefully expressing their First and Second Amendment rights. They're peacefully assembling, and we have two groups that are both frustrated for different reasons that are able to, right now with the help of law enforcement, vocalize their frustrations without getting physically violent, which that's the best we could ask for as Americans. I mean, that's what our nation was founded on. Actually, it was really founded on violent altercations, but that's what we are doing right now.
Yeah.
Personally, as far as the statues go, I believe that if there was a Confederate statue that was put up during the Civil War, before the Civil War, in a non-public area, then they're parts of history. They should be there. And when it comes to a statue that was built decades after the Civil War, mass-produced and distributed around the country by the same actual producer and distributor to put up as symbols of oppression, then it's just a different story.
Actually, those were put up by Dixie Daughters.
Yes, like the one in the Bentonville Square.
Mm-hmm. And they just wanted to do it to remind the people, remind the Southerners. They did not, see, I'm a history major, so, I've studied a lot of this. Their intention was not to remind people of the slavery. During that time, the South, since we lost the Civil War, the South itself was being beat down.
Mm-hmm.
We was once a proud people, hey, we work, we do this. We was proud. After we lost the Civil War, the South, then we got Dixie Daughters said, hey, we're going to bring the white men, the people that fought in the Civil War. We're going to give them pride. They knew that the Confederacy, to some, stood for slavery, but they also knew that it stood for a lot more, for pride. And that's when the Dixie Daughters put it up to try to get their men to have more pride in themselves. You know, and being a history major, that's what I don't understand. After World War II, Germany outlawed Nazi. You fly a swastika, you say Nazi, you mention Auschwitz, anything like that, you can go to jail. By getting rid of these monuments, we're doing the exact same thing.
But they also removed all of their Nazi monuments too.
I mean, honestly, I have a Bible, not a Bible, a religious book from 1776 that was published during that year. I have a Confederate Bible carried by an Arkansas Confederate soldier. You know, one of those little small field. I have a World War II naval Nazi flag. Naval Nazi. The swastika itself, I love the symbol. It's beautiful. The eagle that they have, it's beautiful. I don't look at what they used it for. Originally, the swastika was, this is where the gods have been. Native Americans used it. My father stood, when he was in the Navy, stood in front of a building that was 1,000 years old. They had the swastika. Swastika don't mean shit. Confederate flag, everyone, it's racism, no. Go overseas, and I have. I've been to Iraq. The American flag stands for racism. You ask every American, that's not what it means. To them, it does. Does that make sense?
I smell what you're stepping in.
I mean, we, human beings, has the ability to take anything and conceive whatever we
And
want.
interpret it in however, which way we want. Well, I think right now the best way to go about it is to peacefully assemble on both sides, express your concerns in a non-violent way, and if they are, the BLM movement is serious about getting rid of this statue, there's a legal process to go through. And if they want to pursue that route and have it approved and voted on, or however they want to do it, that's the right way to do it. They weren't here to come tear down the statue. I spoke with them before everything started this afternoon, and that was not the intent. They weren't here for violence.
See, I wish I can actually talk to him. I do.
It's really nice to be able to actually talk to both sides to hear everyone's viewpoint on it. But it's really important that we need to figure out how we can get them to listen to your viewpoint and you to listen to their viewpoint so that we can come up with a solution. That way we're not just, oh man, we got drones up here again.
I wish I could honestly sit down. I don't care if it's the leader or the entire group, and I'm the only white cracker there. I don't care.
What I would suggest, sir, they have Facebook groups, if you're vaguely familiar with Facebook. Look at one of the Facebook groups, look at the moderators and send them a message and start very polite, and they'll talk. I mean, I used to be 100% anti-gun, go to door and take everyone's guns. And
Everyone, Ross Perot.
And then I spoke with some educated 2A activists, and I educated myself. I went out shooting, I learned about the firearms, and I learned how being completely anti-Second Amendment just isn't feasible. It's really not, and we do have our constitutional right. We just have to do it in a common sense kind of way.
See, my
Well,
ex-wife,
ride safe, sir. Fortunately, we have beautiful weather for riding.
my ex-wife, she hated guns. She said, guns kill. I said, all right, I'll be right back. Went in the bedroom, grabbed my pistol, locked and loaded it up. Set it on the table, I stepped away, I said, pistol, kill her. She actually jumped back.
We really do have to focus on gun education and safety. That's
I looked at her, I said,
important.
now, did that gun kill you? She goes, no. I said, how's that gun gonna kill you? She said, you have to hold it. I said, precisely. And I said, now, does guns kill?
See, that's the $1 million question. How do you keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have guns? And that's why I do support background checks for private to private sales. We should have background checks. Yes, and still
They got rid of the whiskey, but there was more alcohol sales during Prohibition.
I need to actually head back over that way here soon. I just hear them chanting over there.
Yeah,
but yeah, thank you, sir. If you would like, here's one of my cards, and I can get you in touch with one of the people over there if you want to have a civil conversation. And
This
I
your
mean,
cell?
yes, sir, it is.
How about if I text you?
Absolutely. Yeah,
the
send me a
best way that way,
text.
you know?
Yeah, my email's on there and all of that. And I'll see if I can get you connected with someone so y'all can, you know, kind of just talk and, man, listening to each other's frustrations. That's the only way we're going to heal through all this.
That's what I want to do.
All right, but hey, thank you, cowboy. You have a good evening, sir.
too.
Thank you. Okay, I'm moving back over here now. Sorry about that. He just had a question, but I really did want to show you, if you saw the statues of the Little Rock Nine, they are, they're filthy. You know, it looks like they've actually been vandalized, probably with either paint or eggs or gum. So those statues need to be cleaned. That is our federal government or our state, local government's job. It looks like these officers are starting to move forward over here. I'm sorry to keep you away for so long. Let's get back over here to the protest. It looks like BLM has moved closer. They are now across the street. They moved from there over here. Oh, never mind. Let's see. So here, it looks like they're actually leaving. So they came and they peacefully assembled. They expressed their First Amendment rights. And then they moved on. That's a silly mask. Oh, let's see here. And then, let's see here. So here these guys are.
Dan Whitmore?
Dan Whitfield, sir. Yes, sir.
Candidate for U.S. Senate.
Yes, sir. I'm running against Tom Cotton.
Tom Cotton. I heard about that. Are you getting signatures to be on the ballot, or?
So, we are in a legal battle right now for ballot access. Let's see if I can make it short for y'all. So, as a third party, we need to get 10,000 signatures to get on the ballot and get ballot access. The Libertarian Party and the Green Party have a 90-day window in which they can choose, and they got their signatures last, I believe they turned them in last October. So when they turned them in last October, they were done with the process and bought their ballot access. They paid canvassers $55,000 to get their signatures.
Yes, Ricky Lattimore.
Harrington.
Harrington.
So as an independent, I had a fixed 90-day window from February 1st until May 1st. On March 13th, when COVID started to get bad here in Arkansas, our Governor Asa Hutchinson issued a state of emergency and through orders of the state severely burdened our signature collection efforts. So we lost about 60% of our collection time, and I was only able to get 65% of the signatures. So we asked Asa Hutchinson to give us an extension due to COVID-19 or reduce the signature amount or allow us to do digital signature collection. He ignored our letter, so we sent it to John Thurston, the Secretary of State. He claimed he did not have the authority to help us. So we sued the Secretary of State, John Thurston, for ballot access due to COVID-19 severely burdening our signature collection efforts. We are currently in that lawsuit right now. The problem is Tom Cotton has donated money to Asa Hutchinson, John Thurston, and John Thurston's defense counsel, the Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. So the three people we're going against trying to keep us off the ballot have taken money from Tom Cotton. And that's where we're at right now. So we're still in the legal process. Soon it'll be done in the 8th Circuit courts, and we should know whether or not we have ballot access by at latest the end of September. But I'm very confident in our case. We will win it.
Now, are you overall like a Democrat, a Libertarian?
I'm a straight independent, sir. I believe that representatives should answer to their constituents and not a political party. In that way, our representatives can represent us and not their political party's desires.
I see. Now, the guy the Democrat noted, his name is Josh Mahoney.
Yes, sir.
This kickoff campaign, they basically, I don't know, he kind of dropped off the radar.
So,
somewhere.
What happened was he was allegedly pocketing donations from his 2018 campaign against Steve Womack. Now, the GOP found out about this, not this last May, but the May before, more than a year ago. They held on to that information until 1 hour after the filing deadline, then issued a press release stating that they were suing the Josh Mahoney campaign for fraudulent FEC filings, and 1 hour later, he dropped out of the race, and then they decided not to sue him. So they have basically blackmailed him out after the deadline, so there is no Democrat in the race.
And there was something else about him not having a job or being qualified. Have you ever run for office, or what are some of the things that you've done before?
Honestly, sir, I'm a regular hard-working Arkansan. I work at JB Hunt in engineering technology during the week, and for the last 5 years on the weekends, I'd been delivering pizzas for Domino's. I was a cable guy for many years, so I've been in thousands of people's houses. I've listened to their problems, and I understand a lot of the struggles that we're going through as Arkansans every day that our representatives just really don't understand.
I see.
So I'm really trying to be a representative for the people. There's just some people yelling back and forth. Really?
Yeah, he has a twin brother here, Meeks.
Oh, really? You get to meet a lot of members in your community real quick.
Where are you from, by the way? Northwest Arkansas?
Yes, sir, up in Bella Vista.
Okay, that's what I thought you were. Okay.
Let's see here.
And are you with the Black Lives Matter group, or with the Support the Statue group?
I came with the Black Lives Matter group. I definitely support removing Confederate statues that were put into place as symbols of oppression. Most of these were mass-produced in the 1920s and put into place just to instill fear. They weren't put there to represent specific Confederate soldiers or anything like that. They were put there as symbols of fear. We should have some statues, of course, but the Confederate statues that need to stay are the ones that were actually built during the Confederacy, before the Civil War, that are actual historic pieces. And unfortunately, these ones just aren't. They're privately owned by, is it the Dixie Daughters of the Confederate or something like that? And it's their private property, and they should move their private property onto private property and off public property. And that's just my opinion, and we're all welcome to our opinions. The BLM movement, they didn't come here to tear down the statue like what a lot of people thought. They came out here to protest and express their constitutional rights. There is a legal way to go about moving this, and if they really are ready to seriously move this statue, then they will pursue the legal means to have it done. But they're not going to come and tear down this statue.
The Kit Brown, I think he threatened to do so and shoot anybody who said they would stop him, but apparently that didn't happen, as you said earlier.
I honestly have no idea about that, sir. But when I spoke to Kip earlier this afternoon, he wasn't expressing any kind of violence. He wasn't expressing any kind of hatred or racism. He was just expressing his concern to come out here and express his constitutional rights. I honestly, as a white man, couldn't answer that question because I've never been in a situation where I have felt the kind of racism that a lot of people deal with every day. I'll never be able to fully understand.
What are your thoughts on the Ten Commandment statue? Because there was an effort to tear that down or put the satanic statue up.
Again, I mean, it just gets into personal beliefs. I think that the satanic statue would have every legal right to be next to the Ten Commandment statue, as the Ten Commandment statue has to be there. There's a legal means for either taking one of them down or putting one of them up. And if someone wants to do it, then that's on them and their own religious beliefs. But yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah. Currently, I think you have to submit. A state legislature has to sponsor it and goes through their paths and then signed by governor, like any other state law, and then it goes through.
See, unfortunately, a lot of our state representatives are running unopposed. So we have a bad problem here in Arkansas of having taxation without representation, because a lot of Arkansans don't even get to vote on the representatives that are representing them and enforcing and creating their taxes because they're running unopposed. So it would be nice to one day make it so we have no candidates in Arkansas running unopposed, so that there is always a choice and someone is always being voted into office rather than assigned into office.
I see. Thank you so much, Dan.
No problem. Thank you. Who are y'all with?
I'm with a group called Keep Arkansas Legal.
Oh, okay.
YouTube, Gab, and Parler. Those alternative media outlets.
By legal,
Keep Arkansas legal, all one word.
like, what do you mean by legal?
Originally, it was an effort to reduce the number of illegal aliens in the state of Arkansas.
There really aren't many undocumented people here in Arkansas because it's really, really difficult to get a job being undocumented here in this state.
Yeah, mainly Northwest Arkansas with the chicken plants of Tyson Foods, but I've seen, for instance, in Alabama when they passed self-deportation laws, a lot of the crime rate dropped, a lot of the unemployment dropped. There was a story, if you type in Alabama self-deportation, it's a story from, I think, 2006, where within 24 hours in the chicken plant after they had passed this law, it was surrounded mainly with blacks and poor whites and Hispanics, because a lot of these food processing plants, they don't hire legally. And so they kind of have a blacks need not apply policy. But
so why aren't the food processing plants being prosecuted for hiring undocumented
very
people?
Good question, one of many good questions.
And also, undocumented people can't really qualify for unemployment, though, at the same time.
Officially, legally, they're not supposed to get that or tax rebates, but I know if you type in Atlanta $47 million, what happens is they commit fraud, or they steal somebody's social security number and they get rebates and then other benefits that they're not supposed to be getting, because a lot of county and local officials look the other way. We just had one in Craighead County. He wasn't giving money to illegals, but he was stealing money for himself, and it was like $1.7 million. It was like the Craighead County.
I don't got you. You're good.
Secretary of, it was a secretary or something to that effect. And yeah, there's lots of money on state and local areas where they just don't bother to process and see who's who, and so that's what happens. But,
well, I think the first thing we need to do is really crack down on prosecuting employers that hire undocumented people, and that way undocumented people would be less likely to apply for those jobs. But again, I don't think that's a huge issue here in Arkansas anymore. But hopefully what we can do is create a clear, legitimate path to citizenship or residency. That way we don't have to worry about undocumented people working when they shouldn't be. Everybody should be able to work if they want to have a job, because we have too many people who are actually here with social security numbers, American citizens, that don't want to work and have no jobs. So we should definitely create a clear path towards residency or citizenship. It's hard to say exactly. I'm not an immigration lawyer. I just know because my wife is an immigrant. So we've been through the process. I know how expensive it is, how scary it is, how really hard the whole process is. And we need to make it so that it's not extremely expensive, overburdening, and scary. And that way we can have the people who want to be residents or citizens to actually be here legally and contribute to our society, that opportunity. It's not like we have an overpopulation issue. It's not like we are running low on resources, where we really have the room, and it would raise our GDP up by, I believe it's like 0.75% if we actually gave every single undocumented people here either residency or citizenship. But it should definitely be up to their choice whether or not they want to be a citizen, because there are dual citizen laws that do affect families, such as maybe you own property in a different country, and if you get dual citizenship, you'll lose your property and things like that. But it should be an option to anybody who is living here, willing to contribute to our society and make America better. We should be able to help them do that in a legal way where they can help our society grow without being scared for their lives every single day.
Did you see anybody else running for office here? Like maybe Joyce Elliott is running for Congress?
No, sir, I didn't actually. And I went back and forth quite a bit. But it was a pleasure talking to you, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go find the BLM group. They went down a block down this way. But thank you all for joining me this evening. It's a little bit longer of a live stream than I usually do my Q&As. But it was I'm really glad. I was faithful that there would be no violence today, because after speaking with the BLM members, they weren't seeking violence. They weren't seeking anything like that. I hope y'all enjoyed listening to stories from both sides. Of course, there were some silly beliefs, but we're all entitled to our own opinions and beliefs, whether they're wrong or right. But I just wanted you all to be able to listen to some of both sides rather than just having everything coming from one side. I am here to support the BLM movement, and I do support the BLM movement, and Black Lives do matter. So that is very important. We need to make sure that we are getting rid of systemic racism and that we are working to solve the problems that stem from it, that create it. That way we don't have to focus so more on addressing symptom after symptom after symptom, because we can address symptoms all day long and the problem will never be solved. Okay, let's see here. So it looks like actually there's still kind of a lot of law enforcement just kind of hanging around. We still have people over there expressing their Second Amendment rights. And then this road is closed off with police officers. Those are the legal observers over there. They were documenting everything. We have some officers here, a few BLM people here. And, not a whole lot. I got to talk to some very interesting characters.
Yeah, the Klan giving you shit up there. That's all.
I got to listen to both sides, and everybody got to listen to both sides.
Yeah, it's clear what they're about.
Y'all did awesome. I mean, thank you guys so much for being so vocal about what's wrong and for being, keeping your head straight. I know there were some kind of words going back and forth, but that's our First Amendment rights. And there were a lot of people over there. There were a lot of people, and they all had most of them 2 or 3 firearms each. So yeah, check out my live stream later, y'all, and you can kind of see what it was like going through all of there and listening to their opinions. Yes, I definitely agree, sir. All right, you guys have a good night. Drive safe. Thank you. I can do part of that. You'll have to comment on and add the rest. Let's see here. So then down this way, there's some more BLM members. Wow, a lot more law enforcement too. So there was a lot of law enforcement presence. I think that did help allow people to voice their verbal frustrations. Wow, look at that. I'm way over here and there's still drones following me. And drones over that way. So their 2 drones are actually over here now, focused 100% solely on the protesters, and they are no longer over at the Capitol, focused on the citizens over there. So they're 100% just following the protesters. So let's see here. So there's some more protesters over this way. Let me see. And then we have state police, Little Rock police. Let's see. Okay. But all right. Oh. So, well, I think that's kind of the end of where everybody's at right now. They just have these officers. Well, there's one more officer down this way, and there's officers here on this main street, and then back over this way. But I don't see, it looks like those protesters left. So all the protesters are now gone. Thank you for coming out tonight. All right. So that's where we are. It was an interesting evening. So there are, let's see, there's so many comments. I'm never going to be able to read through all these comments, y'all. Good evening. What I'll do is, we are fighting for ballot access still in the legal process, but I am very confident we'll win our battle and we will be on the ballot. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a good evening. Thank you. Let's see. I think there's still a few more protesters actually in front of me. But anyways, there is nobody near me, so I'm going to take this off for a minute. Hi, this is me without a mask on. But my name's Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate. Today, y'all joined me to live stream at the Arkansas State Capitol, where we saw citizen protesters against the BLM protesters expressing their First and Second Amendment rights, as well as seeing the BLM protesters expressing their First and Second Amendment rights. These two groups were able to coming down the sidewalk, put my mask back on. They were both able to express their concerns some more explicitly than others, but it was all verbal. There were no physical altercations. This is just the first step towards moving forward in the process. But we have to end the systemic racism. But, so let's see. Oh, there's so much. Oh, don't worry, Helen. I'm super excited to be the one to surprise you in November. And just don't worry at all. And then you're gonna love me when I make sure your grandchildren go to college for free, eliminate your student debt and your children's student debt, make sure your whole family has medical care for about less than 1/10 of the cost they're paying now. Just made it to my car. Whew. All right. So it says I cannot turn my phone while recording. So now I'm in my car. Get that AC crank in and get some water because it's kind of warm. So it is only about 7:30. What I'm going to do is I'll answer any questions y'all have. Let's see. Congratulations, Helen. That's really awesome. I'm going through and working 2 jobs so I can pay myself through school. Unfortunately, between my mortgage, my car note, my cell phone, my utilities, my food, my clothes, my daughter, her school stuff, my internet, and every other thing that I pay for, I am still having to take out student loans right now. I do understand, like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was a lot different because you could get an entire 4-year bachelor's degree for, say, $5,000. Well, nowadays, you're looking at paying upwards of, I'm paying more than $5,000 a semester. So it's very, very, very expensive to go through school nowadays. It's just different times. Let's see here. Oh, don't be mean to Helen, y'all. Everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. Some people just don't understand because they're not living in the situation that other people are living in. It is. Just the actual price of books. The price of books has gone up more than 1,000% in the last 10 years. Your books prices have gone up 1,000%. One semester of books for me, I think, was like $1,200 one semester. I mean, it's just super expensive. That's just for books. And then if you want to sell them back to the library after you purchase them, or the bookstore or whatever, they'll give you like 10% of what you paid for them. Hi.
My daughter just drove by. She said, "That's Dan, that's Dan."
Oh.
She talked to you personally. Her name's Saranda White.
Okay. Oh. Well, thank you so much, and thank you. You have a good evening. Thank you. I can't believe people recognize me. That's so odd to me. Let's see. Education should be about empowering our people, not making a profit. I agree 100%, Joe. I work in automation, so I am very aware of what automation means for the future of our society. What automation means, think of it this way. During the Industrial Revolution, we automated, from our next down, physical labor with robots. That's what the Industrial Revolution was about. Now we're going through the technological revolution where we're trying to automate from the neck up. We're making AI. We are writing programs that operate our machinery. That way people don't have to operate them. What this means is within the next, I think it's by 2035, within the next 15 years, we are looking at an estimated 40% unemployment rate. 40%. That's a higher unemployment rate than what we are looking at with COVID at the height of COVID. The Great Depression was only 25%, to kind of put it on a scale. So we have to make sure that we are giving our future generations, our children, every opportunity possible to go and get a higher education, to work on this automation, to work on these technological jobs that are going to be running our society once we no longer need people to be doing the manual labor jobs and the no skill required jobs. And at the same time, we will have to at that time enforce a universal basic income to make sure that no single American is ever living in poverty. There should not be a single person in poverty while we have a billionaire living in America. And even more so when we have $21 trillion floating around in offshore bank accounts that are avoiding taxation. That money is avoiding taxation, which means it avoids coming back into our society, into programs that benefit our society, like rebuilding our infrastructure, building new schools, new post offices, new parks, and things like that. Flint, Michigan still has dirty water. Flint, Michigan still has poisonous water. How long has it been? I'll wait. Flint, Michigan still has poison water. It's crazy that this isn't a higher priority to take care of. But we have to make sure that if we can afford to bail out corporations and billionaires, and if we can afford to let billionaires launder trillions of dollars in overseas banks, then we can afford to fix the water pipes in Flint, Michigan. And we can afford to have the entire city done in 1 year. Crazy. Taz, I haven't watched that video, Taz. I'm sorry, I'm just reading your question for the first time. I haven't seen Kip's BLM making threats on his page to a gunfight and threats. I just haven't seen that. I guess it's something I'll probably have to watch as someone who is involved in politics, but I just haven't watched it yet. I wasn't aware of it until later this evening, and I've been live streaming since. Brandy, it doesn't matter what administration it happened under. What matters is they're still drinking poisoned water. It needs to be fixed immediately. I don't care if it's Clinton or Bush or Obama or Trump. I don't care, but it needs to be fixed. It's not a partisan issue. We have Republicans and Democrats drinking poisoned water. It needs to be fixed. Yes, unfortunately, Joe, both parties work for the military-industrial complex. Go to opensecrets.org, search military-industrial complex, and it'll actually pull up different branches of where donations come from, and look at how these people are donating to politicians and what politicians they're donating to. A lot of people are taking money from them on both sides, and that's why our military budget is $740 freaking billion a year. No, Ed, I'm talking about people who work with their hands not having jobs because of automation in the future, because they're automating all of these jobs. That's what I'm talking about. Wow, $300 a semester, and your daughter paid $12,000 at U of A. Oh my gosh. I'm starting my first semester at U of A after I just finished my Associates of Applied Science magna cum laude, and now I'm going to U of A, and I'm going to see my first U of A bill. I'm not really excited for it. Ed, the future. The future. What do I think of the TikTok ban? I think it is an assault on First Amendment rights. TikTok is no different than, say, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything else. If we're going to start banning people's outlets to make videos and promote their speech, then we may as well just get rid of all of them and become a straight authoritarian fascist country. $35K in student loans and earn $45K a year. So once you get past all of your bills, your your mortgage, your rent, utilities, and all that stuff, I mean, how can you even pay that off? That's why so many Americans are working, using their degrees, and they're still building so much loan interest that they're not even getting their loans paid off, even though they're paying on their loans. The principal is just not going down. And we are on the road right now to fascism, unfortunately. But we need to stop that. And the way we're going to stop fascism isn't just by replacing our executive branch. We need to also focus on our legislative branch as well. And then we need to focus on our state and local governments too. Look how corrupt Arkansas is, just our state. Our Arkansas Ethics Committee, I just literally sent them proof on exact detailed what was going on with our ballot access, and I never mentioned voter suppression one time. I did not say voter suppression. I sent an email out with all the information, and the response I got was, oh, voter suppression doesn't fall under one of the categories we work with, I didn't even have to say it was voter suppression. He saw that it was voter suppression and came to that conclusion himself and said, we don't bother with voter suppression. That's because the governor, the attorney general, both of those two people that are involved with our ballot access issue have taken money from Tom Cotton and have appointed people into the ethics committee. It's crazy. Abortion, for or against? For or against? Bruh! Okay, so the problem with abortion is a symptom of a problem. The problem is unwanted pregnancies, because very, very few people have a problem with someone who is medically, not able to have a child, or whose child is terminally ill. Most people don't have a problem with them getting an abortion. So the problem is unwanted pregnancies. So let's stop focusing on this abortion debate that we've been going back and forth now for 50 or 60 years. It's ridiculous. And let's focus on the problem so we don't have to argue about the symptom. We know what the problem is. We need to make sure we have proper education in our schools. Sex education cannot be, here's a permission slip, didn't get it signed? Okay, that's up. No sex ed for you. Oh, you did get it signed. Okay, let's talk about abstinence, because abstinence is best, and if I tell you not to have sex, you're not going to have sex, right? That is not sex education, but that is the kind of sex education that we are... that's the kind of sex education we're giving our children. So we need to focus on proper sex education, teaching, children about their bodies, teaching people about what sex is, and that it can be for pleasure, but it's not always for pleasure, and you have to always use protection. So we need to also make sure that every single person in America that is under 21 years old has access to free contraceptives. We have to give people contraceptives, and then they will stop to have unwanted pregnancies. And when we are looking at that, I understand. I've been, women take the pill. I've never taken the pill, of course, but I've been around it. So there is a good birth control pill, and there is a generic birth control pill. The good birth control pill, you take it and your skin gets nice and smooth and you don't break out. The generic one that's cheap and affordable, you take it and your face breaks out, or you get rashes and get hives, and women don't want to take it. We have to make sure when we provide the birth control to, to prevent unwanted pregnancies, that it is the good birth control that people are going to want to take. How do I feel about the 1619 project? I completely support the 1619 project. We cannot afford to whitewash our history. We have to teach our children the truth. We have to teach our children what really happened so that they don't make the same mistakes that our forefathers made. That's how you prevent mistakes from happening, is you teach people about the mistakes so that they don't make the same ones. We can't whitewash, and we should never, ever, ever consider cutting funding to schools, especially in one of the poorest states in America where we have such an underfunded educational system here. We should never, ever be voting to cut education funding. Never. I have no idea why my opponent suggested that, except for the fact that he is so out of touch. He has no idea what it's like to have a child in the private or the public school system, because his children are all in private schools. Like, I'm assuming, let's see. Allison, I did get some yard signs sent out yesterday, so you might get your yard sign in the next couple days. What are my takes on Tom Cotton's statements on slavery? Number one, slavery was not a necessary evil. It was an evil thing that happened that we could have formed our union without. It was something that at the time, I don't know because I wasn't there. But no, it was not a necessary evil, and we could have flourished without slavery, just like we could flourish without factory farms today. But why do we still have factory farms? Because there's money in it. Why did we have slavery? Because there's money in it. We have to make sure that we are focusing our society on bettering ourselves, our family, our health, and our planet, and less on what is in our wallets. And not necessarily what's in our wallets, because our wallets, we are, we're just another brick in the wall. We need to stop focusing on the wealth gains of the richest 1/10 of 1% of Americans and start focusing on how we take care of the most vulnerable among us, and making sure that not 1 in 4 kids in Arkansas go to bed with a hungry stomach when we're willing to waste $169 million to build a new prison to house 500 people. Yeah, I was very surprised with what some of them were saying. Of course, I wasn't trying to make a huge scene there, but I did want their opinions to be vocal for y'all to hear, so you guys can hear what they are thinking over there. And no, school should not be opening up during this COVID pandemic. Absolutely. Right now, we have a problem where American families are having to choose between putting their children and themselves at a health risk, a risk of loss of life, or losing their job and losing their car and their house and everything. And that is not a kind of scenario that no single American should ever have to make a choice on. It's just insane. We have to make sure that we're taking care of the people. We passed the CARES Act. The CARES Act was a giant slush fund to corporations and billionaires. Since the pandemic has begun, by the way, we've injected more than $6.5 trillion into Wall Street, and the billionaires in America have made more than $565 billion more dollars, while Americans are losing their jobs and their houses and everything they own. So now we need a People's Act. We need something that is going to bail out the people. We need something that is going to pay every single person living in America, living here, that is documented, either a resident or a citizen, $2,000 a month per person until the pandemic is over. We can afford to do this. If we can afford to inject $6.5 trillion into billionaires' pockets, we can afford to inject $6.5 trillion into working class pockets. We've been experimenting with supply side economics or Reaganomics or trickle down economics, whatever you want to call it, since the 80s when Reagan was our president and decided to cut the corporate tax rates and cut the tax rates on the ultra wealthy. We've been experimenting with trickle-down economics, and it has failed. It has led to the greatest wealth inequality in human history at the same time as having the wealthiest nation in the world. Trickle-down economics does not work. What we need to do is we need to try trickle-up economics, and this is a great time to experiment with it. We are America. We are the great experiment. We should be using the COVID pandemic to inject money into our society so that we can pay our bills, we can buy our food, we can do everything we need to do to get our children ready for school, make sure we have internet at our homes and things like that. And if you give people money, they will spend it. What happens when people spend a lot of money? When the demand goes up, the supply goes up. It will boost our economy. It's just when you start doing that, the wealthy lose the control. Because as long as they have trickle-down economics, all of the money goes to them. And they don't have to spend it back into our society and trickle it down. They will send it to offshore banks and avoid taxation and take that money out of our society. If you put the money in the bottom and trickle it up, then you put it here and we will spend that money. People will spend that money and then it will go up to them and then they won't have as much that they can trickle off into offshore bank accounts. It's all about money, and we need to make sure that, again, we are not judging how great of a nation we are by the wealth gain of the richest 1/10 of 1%, but how well we are doing as a society as a whole. Oh, Troy. Yeah, thanks for coming by, Troy. I appreciate you spending time out of your evening to hop on my live stream. Thank you so much, sir. And just so you know, I'm not sure how moral you would call it to suggest executing American citizens on domestic soil, or how, moral you would call it to say that we need an overwhelming show of force against Americans expressing their First Amendment constitutional rights, such as y'all just witnessed in this live stream. We just went to this protest. Both sides were expressing their First Amendment rights. They were shouting their frustrations back and forth to each other. Well, some of them were. Both sides were expressing their Second Amendment constitutional rights and bearing arms. And there were no physical altercations. They were peacefully assembling on both sides. Tom Cotton thinks we should have used an overwhelming show of force and just went in there and gassed them all. That is not very moral, in my opinion. Ed Stiles, I do support term limits. I think that a senator should serve no more than 12 years and a House member should also serve no more than 12 years. Personally, I will run my one campaign, this campaign here. This is my election campaign. I will not run a re-election campaign. If I'm doing a good job, my name will be on the ballot in 2026 and you can vote for me. If I'm not doing a good job, don't vote for me. But I'm not going to waste your time in office working for you, campaigning, wasting your money and doing all that stuff. That doesn't make sense. If I'm doing a good job, I shouldn't have to run a second campaign, so I'm not going to. Now, the thing with term limits, a lot of the people who are against it is because there's wisdom. There is knowledge that you gain through working, in the Congress, through the House or the Senate. Now, what we need to do is find out a way to pass that wisdom along. So, say when you get a job at a company, a lot of companies, depending on what you're doing, a skilled position, when you get your job, you're going to shadow somebody. And you're going to shadow them for a specific amount of time and learn how to do the job, and then you're going to go off on your own. I believe that part of being a public servant and serving as an elected official, you should spend part of your time after you lose your re-election or you term out, teaching the person, the newcomer, how to do it, teaching them the wisdom and the knowledge that was passed down to you. And by passing down the knowledge the way our ancestors passed down knowledge to us, we can have term limits in effect where we don't have to worry about losing that knowledge, and we can also make sure that we don't. So, sorry, I lost you there for a second. All right, let's see here. Will you follow Native American treaties? Absolutely, Randy. And I mean, honestly, Native Americans deserve so much more than we give them. A lot of, back to the, the 1619 Project and Manifest Destiny, and how Europeans came here into America and basically eradicated in a giant genocide 97% of indigenous people. And then while we were moving west, we actually started pushing them into camps through the Trail of Tears into Oklahoma and put them into basically concentration camps. We need to find ways to expand their territory. There's so much unused land in America. We are not overpopulated. We are not running out of resources. We need to make sure that we are taking care of Native Americans whose land this has been for thousands of years, rather than putting them in little concentration camps and letting them suffer through drugism and alcoholism and all of these other issues they're going through right now. We have to start taking care of all people in America, not just the wealthy. Yeah, bye Helen. Have a good evening. Thank you for joining me this evening and giving me some time out of your night. I appreciate it. Yes, Jason, I do agree. Of course, in the federal government, I don't really have any say, but we should get rid of dry counties in Arkansas, because all dry counties do is it makes Arkansans leave their county, spend tax money outside their county where that tax money doesn't even benefit their community, or even leaving their state altogether in, like, say, Missouri or Texas or Tennessee, somewhere other than Arkansas, because people are going to get their alcohol if they want their alcohol. And we need to make sure that if people want alcohol, that we need to allow them to get alcohol in their home communities. That way the taxes that they're spending on that alcohol, that way the taxes they're spending on their alcohol come back to their own local communities. So as far as legalizing marijuana recreationally, that would not be up to me at the federal level. On a personal level, yes, I would vote as one vote single Arkansan citizen to recreationally legalize. But what I support at the federal level is federally decriminalizing cannabis and nationally expunging cannabis-related charges. What this is going to do is this is going to allow states to vote on whether or not they want it to be medicinal, recreational, or not legal at all. That will be upon the state's voters, upon you. That's your choice as a voter. Now, what it will do is when a state does decide to legalize medicinally or recreationally, it will allow our legal businesses to have federal protections against the DEA. Because right now we have the DEA going into illegal American businesses. They'll go inside a business, handcuff everybody, take them outside, go back in, take all of their money, take all of their product, go back out, let everyone go and say, hey, have a nice day, we'll see you in 6 months. And it is it's legal robbery. We have to protect our businesses from the thugs and the DEA. Now, at the same time, our legal businesses aren't allowed to do, they're not allowed to bank with FDIC-insured banks. We have tried to pass some banking acts in order to allow them to do that, but unfortunately, legislators like my opponent have voted against those measures to help our legal businesses. So it will make it so that our legal businesses are protected from the federal government, which is what we need. And we also need to not take away Americans' Second Amendment rights for getting a medicinal cannabis card. We need to reinstate those constitutional rights because they're law-abiding citizens. They haven't done anything wrong. And if you want to start taking away people's Second Amendment rights for having a medicinal marijuana card, when are we going to start taking away people's rights for buying alcohol, or taking away people's Second Amendment rights for having a prescription drug, or anything like that? So we do have to make sure that we reinstate those Second Amendment rights. And by federally decriminalizing, we will be able to do that, because then when you're doing your background check, that won't be a question. You haven't broken any federal laws. The problem, Ed, is all these people in the county who want to buy alcohol, they're just going to drive to the next county over. It's not like it's a very far drive. We have like 76 counties or something like that in Arkansas. They're going to get their alcohol. They're just going to spend that money outside your county, and you're not going to benefit in it. Your roads aren't going to benefit from it. Your infrastructure, your police, your fire, your post, everything, your schools, they won't benefit from it. approving a Peacemaker Festival. I'm not sure what you mean, Jason. You might have to send me a message and clarify. And alcohol and guns is far more dangerous than cannabis and guns. I would probably agree to that. Although I've never had cannabis and guns. Yes, Chris, absolutely. We do need to protect employees from employers testing for cannabis. Employers should not be testing for cannabis in a state where it is legal recreationally, and they should also not be testing for cannabis to medicinal patients. And if a medicinal patient tests positive for cannabis, their legal prescription should prevent them from, of course, losing their job. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to go to work high. Of course, that's ridiculous. You don't get high and go to work, but you should be able to do whatever you want when you're not at work. And if you go to high and get work, you're probably going to get fired. And if you were high at work and you got tested and popped positive, say for a blood test that can test within a couple hours, then yeah, you deserve to lose your job. Just don't get high at work. It's not that hard. I am pro Second Amendment. I carry my sidearm every day. I was carrying my firearm. I conceal my firearm because I think it's ridiculous to have an open, I support the open carry as long as it's constitutionally legal, but I personally would never open carry because what's the point of having a firearm for self-defense if everybody knows you have a firearm for self-defense? I do, however, believe that we need common sense gun regulation. We have to have background checks on all private sales. We need to end the gun show loopholes. If I go on armslist.whatever and sell a firearm to somebody and meet them right here on the side of the road, roll my window down and take his money and hand him a firearm, that's not okay. I don't know who he is. I say, hey man, are you a felon? Can you legally own a firearm? He says yes. Okay, well, I guess you can legally own a firearm because he told me so. If you can't buy a firearm because you can't pass a background check because you're a felon, then you shouldn't be able to buy a firearm from a private sale. But at the same time, we do have to make sure when we start doing background checks on every single sale that our background checks are not overly burdensome. You should just have to pay a processing fee, like $2.50 or $3, no more than what you would pay to, say, pay your electric bill over the phone or something like that. It shouldn't be a burdensome price, but we do have to make sure that felons aren't buying firearms through private sales because they can't get one at Bass Pro. Oh, Michael. So what happened was I spoke with the Black Lives Matter protesters before the event, and then I got here before them, and I spoke with the citizens who were here and concerned before the event as well. The people who were already here, they were under the impression that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization, and they are coming out here with guns to take down the statue. Well, unfortunately, that's not the truth. Fortunately, that's not the truth. The Black Lives Matter protesters were not here to tear down the statue. They weren't here to cause violence. These people were misinformed. They were mistaken. And they were there to protect the statue. They formed a ring around the statue. When I finish this live stream, you can go back to the beginning and I show where everyone kind of is and what's going on throughout the first hour or so of the live stream. So check that out and you can kind of see. But they were there to protect the statue because they really thought the BLM protesters were going to come try to tear it down. But the BLM protesters were not going to come tear it down. That was not the point of this. Tammy, real quick, because we just went over this, I think that we need to reinstate all legal, law-abiding American citizens' Second Amendment rights if they do have their medicinal cannabis card. Medicinal cannabis card should not be a disqualification for owning a firearm. What can I say about gender equality? Man, anyone can identify however they want. Be who you are. We're all our own people. We're all unique. You'll never meet someone like you. We're snowflakes. We're all stardust. You know, it's crazy that people can hate against someone for how they identify sexually or for who they love based on sexual orientation. If you want to judge someone, that's your own problem. Keep it to yourself. It is not okay to judge people in public. That's hate speech, and we need to make sure that we're protecting LGBTQ plus rights and making sure that we are not discriminating based on sexual identity or orientation. What is my opinion on the Green New Deal? So climate change is extremely important. It's one of the most dire situations we will ever face as not only Americans, but as human beings. I made a post just the other day explaining the CO2 levels and how fast they're rising. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our planet. The Green New Deal has a lot of little pieces broken into it. I think one of the things we really need to focus on in legislation is not having Trojan horse amendments in legislation. We need to be clear cut. This is what the legislation is for. This is what it does. Vote yes or no on it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got caught up when she campaigned on defunding ICE, but then she voted to fund ICE. Why did she vote to fund ICE? I have the answer. It's a trick question. So it's really tough because there was an amendment when the government was shut down to pay the furloughed government workers the salaries that they had missed so that they could pay their rent and their mortgage and their bills. But the only way to get that furloughed paid back was to agree to fund ICE. So she signed a piece of legislation that had two things in it: funding ICE and paying furloughed federal workers. You should never have to have two things like that in one piece of legislation. You should be able to vote on them independently. But we have to be really, that's something I really want to address, our Trojan horse amendments as well. Oh, don't worry. I'm fine here, honestly. I'm not worried. Thank you, though. I appreciate your concern. And I will, I'm going to actually end my live stream here in the next 10 minutes or so as it is starting to get darker, because I do have like a 3.5 hour drive home tonight. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning to make it out here. So it's looking like a long day for me, and I don't want to stay too much later. Did I see where Cotton was saying protests in Seattle were out of control and Seattle was getting rid of police? Isn't he promoting more federal troops? I mean, Tom Cotton has been promoting federal troops in American cities now for weeks and weeks and weeks. It started with his no quarter op-ed, his overwhelming show of force, and all these different things that he's been promoting. It's just violence. That's the problem. The law enforcement and agitating a lot of these protests. This protest was a little bit different because there were two different very polarly different groups protesting against each other, and the law enforcement was right there in the middle. And it worked really well. I'm really glad I was able to document a lot of this. But if it's just one side of protesters and then there's just police, then there starts to be tension between the two groups. And when that starts happening is when we start to see things like what's going on in Portland. But we noticed last night in Portland, when no federal troops were involved, the protests stayed peaceful. They didn't get violent in any way. It stayed peaceful because there was no, federal agitation going on. So it was two different circumstances, what happened here this evening and what was going on in Portland. It's really hard, Ed. I think the first thing we need to do when we talk about illegal immigration is that we need to make sure we do provide a clear-cut, affordable, and logical path to either residency or citizenship for any person living here in America that is contributing to our society, that is paying their taxes, that is buying from our economy and putting tax money into our economy. We need to make sure they have a clear path to citizenship. Once we give people the actual option to become documented Americans, they're gonna take it. The problem is it's so freaking expensive. I mean, it could be like $5,000. $5,000 to get your residency, not even your citizenship, just your residency. $5,000. Do you know how hard it is to save up $5,000 when you have all of your bills for your housing, utilities, car, and all that normal daily stuff, and now you got to save up $5,000 on the side while you're making less than minimum wage, most likely, really low wages because you can't get a good job because it's probably under the table and someone's taking advantage of you. We have to make sure we have a clear-cut we have to have clear-cut immigration reform. And I think I'm actually going to be really beneficial in that aspect here in America because I'm married to an immigrant. We've gone through the process, so I understand how expensive, how stressful, how scary, and all of this stuff that it really is. I mean, I was scared. I'm an American citizen. I've been here my whole life. I'm as white as it gets, but I was still scared sitting there in the immigration office going through my interview. I mean, it's scary. Imagine how much more scary it is for somebody else who's trying to apply for residency. So we have to make sure that it is a legitimate fix to our immigration system. Wow. So yeah, we're raising prices, we're making it harder, and we're making it more difficult for people to actually be doing everything the right way when they're trying to do everything the right way. It's not like they want to be here illegally, like they don't want to be documented. The problem is that let's see here. The problem is that it's just so hard. So we need to make it easier. Last question, how do you feel about bringing equal pay to EMS systems to match hospital reimbursements to allow paramedics in? Yeah, so what a lot of people don't understand are if you get in a car accident and the ambulance comes, they're going to charge you like $3 to $5 to $10 to $20,000 just to get you from the scene of the accident to the hospital. Those EMTs can be making like 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, while these EMT companies, they are making a killing. We have to make sure that we are either lowering the cost, we need to lower the cost of ambulance rides, and then make the pay, like you said, equivalent to nurses. You are saving lives. You are honestly the first line of lifesavers, not the candy, but the amazing heroes. You're the first line of defense when it comes to saving a person's life, and you should be treated that way with equal pay. "17 years experience as a medic and made $14.52 an hour. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what, Chris? You're a hero, man. Thank you for all of the lives you've saved, sir. I do appreciate it, even if your employer doesn't appreciate it as much. I know there's a lot of people out there that really do. Hopefully one day we can get you up at least to a $15 minimum wage, if not a lot more. That is something equivalent and comparable to the work you do, especially compared to the cost of what you're doing." Okay, Penny, you're right. I really do got to get on the road. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. If you do have any more questions, just send me a message, give me a call, an email, text, any of that stuff. I'll always answer. But thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. Check out replacetomcotton.com. One thing I did do with my shop is you can buy a yard sign right now for $10. Now, when you buy a yard sign, because I saw someone's like, oh, $20 for a yard sign, I understand it's a little expensive, but just know all of the money that goes into our store goes directly into our donation account. We file it with the FEC, it goes straight into our donation account. So it's not like I'm making a profit or anything like that. All this money is going towards our campaign to help us get more known and get us the media's attention and get our stuff out there. Let's see. Oh, I love you too, Mom. Thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you saw some of the protest and we're able to see both sides and kind of, hear both sides' opinions of what's going on. I wish I could have got more with the BLM movement, but I didn't want to interrupt their chants that was going on. I didn't want to interrupt what they had going because it's really important, the movement that they're doing. But I did speak with them earlier in the evening and talk to a lot of them and the issues that they're facing personally and what they would like to see done so that we can try to fix the systemic racism that has been sown into our society for way too long. All right. Well, hey, y'all have a good night. Thank you so much. I'm going to drive safe, and I'll make a post when I get home and let you all know that I got home safe. But thank you guys so much for your support. If it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't have such a strong campaign to unseat and replace Tom Cotton. But may God bless y'all. May God bless America. Thank you so much, everyone who is here tonight, for expressing your constitutional rights in the 100% proper way. You know, it just looks good for everyone. Thank you so much. Have a good night, y'all.